Switzerland is a tiny, landlocked country in the middle of Europe. It has no oil, no significant minerals, no natural resources. It's mostly mountains, terrain that's expensive to build on and difficult to farm. Yet Switzerland has a GDP per capita of over $90,000, one of the highest in the world. Swiss citizens are, on average, richer than Americans, Germans, or British. Zurich and Geneva consistently rank among the world's wealthiest cities. How did a small country with no natural advantages become one of the richest places on Earth? The answer isn't geography or resources. It's institutions, incentives, and strategic decisions made over centuries. Switzerland didn't get rich by accident. They engineered wealth through neutrality, banking secrecy, political stability, and an obsessive focus on competitiveness. This is the story of how Switzerland became insanely rich with no resources, and what their model teaches about how wealth is actually created. Let's start with what Switzerland actually is, because understanding the constraints makes the achievement more impressive. The geographic reality. Size: 41,285 square kilometers, about twice the size of New Jersey. Population: 8.7 million people, similar to New York City. Terrain: 60% Alps mountains, 30% plateau, 10% Jura mountains. Landlocked: no coastline, no ports, surrounded by larger powers: Germany, France, Italy, Austria. Resources: essentially none. No oil, gas, coal, or significant minerals. Limited farmland. Switzerland is a confederation of 26 cantons, states, with significant autonomy. The federal government is relatively weak. This decentralization is critical to understanding Swiss success. Direct democracy. Swiss citizens vote on major policy decisions through referendums, hundreds per year. This creates accountability and limits government overreach. Federalism. Cantons compete with each other for residents and businesses through lower taxes and better services. This creates competitive governance. Neutrality. Switzerland has been officially neutral since 1815, Congress of Vienna. They don't join military alliances, don't participate in wars, and maintain this neutrality religiously. These aren't just political arrangements, they're economic institutions that created the conditions for wealth creation. Switzerland's wealth is built on finance. Swiss banks manage roughly $2.4 trillion in offshore wealth, about 25% of the world's cross-border assets. But how did a small alpine country become the world's financial safe? In 1934, Switzerland passed banking secrecy laws, making it a criminal offense for bankers to reveal client information. This wasn't new. Swiss banking secrecy traditions dated back centuries, but the 1934 law codified it. Why 1934? Nazi Germany was hunting for assets of Jews, political opponents, and anyone they wanted to loot. Switzerland offered a place where money could be hidden from governments, including murderous ones. But the secrecy worked both ways. It also attracted wealthy individuals avoiding taxes in high-tax countries, dictators and corrupt officials hiding stolen wealth, corporations moving profits to minimize tax exposure, anyone wanting financial privacy from their government. Swiss banks became the world's vault. If you wanted to hide money for legitimate or illegitimate reasons, Switzerland was the destination. Switzerland's neutrality meant your money was safe even during wars. While Europe destroyed itself in World War I and World War II, Swiss banks remained untouched. Capital fled from war zones to Swiss safety. Result: massive capital inflows. Wealthy people worldwide moved assets to Switzerland, and Swiss banks charged fees for managing that wealth. This created a massive financial services industry in a country with no natural resources. International pressure, especially from the US and EU, has eroded Swiss banking secrecy significantly. The U.S. Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, FATCA, and EU pressure forced Switzerland to share information on foreign account holders. But the damage was done, in a good way for Switzerland. By the time secrecy laws were weakened, Switzerland had established itself as the global center for wealth management. Even without secrecy, stability, expertise, and trust keep money flowing to Swiss banks. Current impact. Finance accounts for about 10% of Swiss GDP and employs high-wage workers. Banks like UBS, Credit Suisse before its collapse, and hundreds of private banks manage trillions. The wealth management fees alone generate billions annually. But Switzerland isn't just banks. They're also an industrial powerhouse, despite having no resources. How? The Swiss manufacturing strategy. Switzerland can't compete on volume or cheap production. They have high labor costs, expensive real estate, and no raw materials, so they compete on precision, quality, and innovation. Swiss watches, Rolex, Patek Philippe, Omega, dominate the luxury market. The Swiss watch industry exports about $22 billion annually. But it's not just luxury. Switzerland produces precision instruments for medical devices, scientific equipment, and industrial machinery. When you need something made to microscopic tolerances, you go to Switzerland. Pharmaceuticals. Roche and Novartis, two of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies, are Swiss. Together, they represent about $100 billion in annual revenue. Why pharmaceuticals? Because it's a high value-added industry that doesn't require natural resources. You need brain power, research capacity, and regulatory expertise. Switzerland invested heavily in all three. Chemicals. Switzerland is a global leader in specialty chemicals, not bulk commodity chemicals, but high-value products for specific applications. Engineering and machinery. Swiss companies like ABB for power and automation and countless specialized machinery manufacturers produce high-end equipment for industries worldwide. Switzerland doesn't make cheap consumer goods. They make expensive, specialized products that require expertise. This strategy works because high margins. Luxury watches have 500% markups. Pharmaceuticals have huge profit margins. Precision instruments can charge premium prices. Inelastic demand. Wealthy people will pay for Rolex regardless of price. Hospitals need precision surgical instruments. These aren't price-sensitive markets.
Education and apprenticeship system. Switzerland maintains a rigorous apprenticeship system where young people learn skilled trades. About 70% of Swiss youth go through apprenticeships rather than university. This creates a workforce with practical skills in precision manufacturing, engineering, and specialized trades. It's why Swiss products have a reputation for quality. But banking and manufacturing don't fully explain Swiss wealth. The deeper answer is institutions, the rules, norms, and structures that make Switzerland a wealth creation machine. Advantage 1. Political stability. Switzerland hasn't been in a war since 1815, over 200 years. This is almost unimaginable for a European country. Political stability equals economic predictability. Businesses can plan long-term. Investors know the rules won't change arbitrarily. Property rights are secure. Compared to neighboring countries, Germany had hyperinflation, Nazism, division, and reunification. France had multiple revolutions and regime changes. Italy had fascism and chronic instability. Austria was part of collapsing empires. Switzerland was boring and stable, and boring stability is extremely valuable economically. Advantage 2. Low taxes and fiscal discipline. Switzerland has relatively low taxes compared to European neighbors, especially at the cantonal level, where competition keeps rates down. Corporate tax rates vary by canton but average around 15 to 20%, far lower than Germany 30%, France 25%, or Italy 24%. Personal income tax also varies but generally lower than EU countries. No wealth tax in most cantons, though some have it. Fiscal discipline. Swiss government debt is only about 40% of GDP, among the lowest in Europe. They run balanced budgets and avoid deficit spending. Why does this matter? Low taxes plus fiscal discipline equals business-friendly environment. Companies locate headquarters in Switzerland. Nestlé, Roche, Novartis, many multinationals. High-skilled workers move to Switzerland for lower taxes. Capital flows to low-tax jurisdictions. Advantage 3. Rule of law and low corruption. Switzerland consistently ranks among the least corrupt countries globally. Contracts are enforced, property rights are sacred, courts are independent and fair. This reduces transaction costs. You don't need to pay bribes. You don't worry about government seizing assets arbitrarily. You can trust the system. For businesses and wealthy individuals, this is worth paying for. Even if Swiss services cost more, the reliability and legal protection justify it. Advantage 4. Labor market flexibility. Switzerland has relatively flexible labor markets compared to EU countries. It's easier to hire and fire, though not as easy as the US. Unions are less powerful, regulations are lighter. Result, unemployment is consistently low, around 2 to 3%, among the lowest in Europe. Businesses can adapt quickly to market changes. Advantage 5. Immigration of talent. Switzerland attracts highly skilled immigrants, bankers, engineers, scientists, executives. About 30% of Swiss residents are foreign-born. But Swiss immigration is selective. They prioritize skilled workers who contribute economically. This isn't mass immigration, it's targeted talent recruitment. Result, a small population that's disproportionately educated, skilled, and productive. Advantage 6. Strategic neutrality. Neutrality isn't just military, it's economic. Switzerland doesn't align with EU or US geopolitical goals. They trade with everyone. Examples: Swiss companies do business in Iran, Russia, China, places where US or EU companies face sanctions. Swiss banks managed South African wealth during apartheid, Argentine wealth during dictatorship, etc. This is morally questionable, but economically profitable. Neutrality means Swiss businesses aren't constrained by their government's foreign policy. So what can we learn from Switzerland's model? Lesson 1. Resources don't determine wealth, institutions do. Switzerland has no oil, no minerals, no natural advantages, yet they're richer than resource-rich countries like Russia, Saudi Arabia, or Venezuela. The difference is institutions, property rights, rule of law, low corruption, political stability, fiscal discipline. These matter more than what's in the ground. Lesson 2. Specialization beats commoditization. Switzerland can't compete on cheap labor or mass production, so they don't try. They specialize in high-value, high-skill products where expertise and reputation matter more than cost. This is the only path for high-wage countries. You either move up the value chain or you get undercut by lower-wage competitors. Lesson 3. Political decentralization creates competitive governance. Swiss cantons compete for residents and businesses. If one canton has high taxes and poor services, people and businesses move to another canton. This creates accountability. Bad governance has immediate consequences. Politicians can't hide behind national policies. Compare to unitary states, where bad governance affects everyone equally and is harder to escape. Lesson 4. Neutrality has economic value. By staying neutral, Switzerland avoided the massive destruction of European wars. Capital fled to Switzerland during crises, businesses located there for safety. Neutrality equals stability equals wealth preservation. Lesson 5. Reputation compounds over time. Swiss watches have a 100-year reputation for quality. Swiss banks have centuries of stability. Swiss precision instruments are trusted worldwide. This reputation is worth billions. It allows Swiss companies to charge premium prices. It attracts talent and capital, but it took generations to build and requires constant maintenance. Lesson 6. Small can be an advantage. Switzerland's small size forced specialization. They couldn't be everything to everyone. They had to focus on what they could do better than anyone else. Small plus focused, greater than large plus diffuse in modern high-value industries. Switzerland's wealth partially came from morally questionable sources: hiding Nazi gold and Holocaust victims' assets, sheltering dictators' stolen wealth, enabling tax evasion,
profiting from neutrality while others fought for freedom. This isn't something to celebrate, but it's part of understanding how the wealth was built. Modern Switzerland has moved away from some of these practices. Banking secrecy is largely gone, but the wealth accumulated during that era remains. Switzerland became insanely rich with no natural resources by building institutions that attract and create wealth. Banking secrecy and neutrality made them the world's financial safe. A focus on precision, quality, and high-value industries built an export economy without raw materials. Low taxes, political stability, rule of law, and competitive federalism created the world's most business-friendly environment. The result, a tiny mountainous country with 8.7 million people has a GDP per capita of $90,000 plus, higher than almost anywhere on Earth. If this changed how you think about what creates national wealth and why resources don't determine prosperity, hit subscribe. Drop a comment. Could other countries replicate Switzerland's model? And share this with someone who thinks natural resources determine wealth. Because Switzerland proves that wealth comes from institutions, not extraction, from human capital, not natural capital, from what you build, not what you dig up. I'll see you in the next one.